For more on this, let's bring in Nile Gardiner from the Heritage Foundation, along with Lieutenant Colonel Dakota Wood, Senior Research Fellow at the Foundation, and Jonathan Wachtel, former spokesperson for the U.S. mission to the United Nations. Thanks to all of you for being here with us. Now, let me ask each of you for a quick takeaway from the president's trip abroad, specifically that summit with Vladimir Putin. Nile?
Well, thank you for having me on the show. And I have to say, I thought President Biden's grand European tour was not exactly a roaring success. In fact, there were, as you mentioned earlier, some very embarrassing moments for the president where he looked very confused, was unable to answer simple questions. But also, I think that his summit with Vladimir Putin cannot be counted as a success. In fact, it was a major propaganda opportunity for the Russian president. I thought that Joe Biden looked out of his depth at times. He looked weak. He looked very deferential, actually, towards Putin. And of course, Biden, refused to call Putin out over, for example, the Nord Stream 2 pipeline or Putin's regime's use of chemical weapons on European soil in 2018 with the attack on Salisbury. And so there are many opportunities for Biden to hold Putin to account. But the U.S. president simply failed to do so. This was classic Obama-style leading from behind from Joe Biden. It doesn't actually fill the free world with confidence.
Lieutenant Colonel, what did you think? What was your grade you might give our president at that summit? And I agree. I mean, it used to be that this was full of pomp and circumstance, and there'd be a big dual press conference at the end of it. This time we got none of that.
Right. You'd have all your staffers working weeks, if not months in advance. You'd have a very clear idea of what you wanted to get out of the thing, completely unapologetic about what U.S. interests would be. So to hand over a list of 16 critical infrastructure sectors in the United States and say these are off limits, does that mean that everything else is fair game?
Exactly.
I mean, does it give license to the Russians or Russian-sponsored hacker groups to attack this company, but not that federal agency? And so I think, to echo my colleague Nile's comments, it just wasn't a strong hand that was played. And if you want to look at U.S. reputation internationally, the Australian news talk shows have been having a field day with this, repeatedly showing the film footage of President Biden walking up onto a cafe and his wife, Jill, having to call him and then escort him out from this crowd of people and all that. I mean, I just can't imagine a former U.S. president behaving with so little preparation and so little assuredness walking into this with U.S. interests first and foremost. And it's very clear that with Putin's body language, this is very much I'm in charge. I really don't give a hoot about you. He was grinning like a Cheshire cat afterwards. And if you have noticed here in the past 24 hours or so, the U.S. has now held up the provision of military aid to Ukraine to include any kind of lethal support. So was this a deal, made by Biden with Putin that the United States would not support the government of Ukraine?
Yeah, I'm not sure about that yet. I mean, there's rumors that they're going to hold up that aid to Ukraine. But yeah, I'm with you. When I looked at the Putin presentation, he was full of energy and pointing and laughing and smiling. I thought of him, bare-chested riding his horse somewhere. And then there was President Biden. And I don't mean to denigrate him being 10 years older, but there was a completely different type of characteristic put forth. And there was also that moment when Biden snapped at reporters for asking legitimate questions. Take a look at that.
Why are you so confident he'll change his behavior, Mr. President?
I'm not confident in changing behavior. What do you do all the time? So when did I say I was confident?
You said in the next 6 months he even refused to say unless Navalny's name. So how does that account to a constructive meeting as President Putin?
You don't understand that. You're in the wrong business. Look, to be a good reporter, you got to be negative. You got to have a negative view of life. Okay, it seems to me the way you never ask a positive question.
It's so interesting to me, gentlemen, to see the tables turned on the so-called Biden-friendly media. In the first case there, that CNN reporter who just said, why are you so confident that Putin is going to change? Ask a tough question. It's an obvious topic that you'd bring up. what do you think about that, Neil? Is he just not prepared, or is he trying to guide the media to his liking?
Well, that's a very good question, and I have to say that Biden's overall approach on the international stage, I thought was very naive in the face of the tremendous Russian threat, very naive in the face of the Chinese threat as well. I don't think that Biden was very well prepared for this trip, and clearly as well, Biden has a lot of anger issues, and he took out this anger on a reporter, which is unacceptable for a U.S. president to do. And I think that Biden also displayed anger ahead of the G7 summit towards the British government over the Northern Ireland issue and Brexit. And this was an appalling stance taken by the Biden administration, condemning America's closest friend and ally on the international stage, the United Kingdom, over Britain's Brexit and Northern Ireland policy. Yeah. So a number of major gaffes made by Biden's presidency over the last. And
he also took on the Republican Party back here while on international soil. That's fine. Do that if you'd like, but don't do it on international soil. Gentlemen, I wish we had much more time. I find this a fascinating discussion. But Nile Gardiner, Dakota Wood, and Jonathan Wachtel, thanks so much for being with us. Coming up, multiple Democrats.